Hello and welcome to Michael and Ivanka's Grand Podcast, weekly podcast where we figure out what we think about everything in the entire world. My name's Michael Forrest.
And I'm Ivanka Majic.
And this week we're going to talk about... Last week we talked about capital in all its forms, such as reputational, human, social, money, obviously, property, kinds of capital. This week we want to sort of continue the conversation a bit and talk about what you do with it. Like figuring out if we've got any... figuring out what we could do with it, and also like, you know, how do you spend it, how do you lose it, how do you waste it, all that kind of thing.
Yes, and also the fact that it's called capital, and capital has so much sort of negative dirtiness attached to it as a word.
Gross.
You've got capital. It just sounds bad. Well, it does to me anyway.
If we can learn to speak the language of these people that know how to accumulate and exploit capital, maybe we can.
But those are also negative words. Accumulate. Exploit. They're like, they are, aren't they?
Yeah.
Anyway, which I think it was why it makes you, well, it makes me, I should be self-referring rather than like makes one feel a little bad about having it and using it and all those kind of things. So yes,
and certainly talking negative about it. So I guess that's about the size of it. We're going to keep this intro very short before we go into the thing. That was very efficient, wasn't it?
Is it done?
No. How's it going, Ivanka? I think we need to do
It's going very well. I think this week I feel like I have repaired a few things this week. I had a thing that was troubling me in a work context that feels like it's almost fixed. One meeting to go and then I can crack on with doing things I like doing. And this morning we went to pick up a stone sink for our garden. A stone sink. It's beautiful, I have to say. Highly indulgent. One of the weird side effects of being like a half and halfy person living in Croatia, you know when you're on holiday and you use local currency and it doesn't, the value of it, so there's like a disconnect. So it's like I go and pay for stuff and I'm like,
just monopoly money is fine.
Holiday money. And then you go, what? How much? So yes, I bought a stone sink.
Always garden news. You're going to see a lot of Ivanka's garden this week on the
absolutely love my garden. I could be in the garden all the time. This morning I was in the garden from 7 till 7:30. And last night I was in the garden because I had to plant some things because it rained yesterday, much to everyone's delight. So I went around in the daytime while it was raining. I planted some seeds, get them in quick. And then in the evening when it was dark, Nick and I put head torches on and went around picking snails off things. We must have picked up like 150 snails. And then at the bottom of our garden, there was just... because snails
and then
really
you
only
just stomp them.
No, of course not. I put them in there's like a wild field at the bottom of our garden that's behind quite a big wall. So we put them all down there. They can eat those weeds instead of my lettuce. That's what I say.
Yeah, weeds aren't as nice as lettuce, though. They'll be back.
I'm sure they will, but at least take them a few days. So we did that. So yes, garden, love it. It's in full swing at the moment. Because there's a point in the summer when it gets really hot and all the plants just sort of go bit hot in it, and then you have to wait till autumn again for the green to come through. So we're all looking very green and colourful at the moment, which is delightful.
It does look nice.
And anyway, got a stone sink now to add into the mix.
Is it like freestanding in the middle and then birds?
No, we've got
Is it plumbed?
Oh no, I've got bird baths. It will be plumbed, the sink.
Right, and it's for like washing your hands.
Washing your hands, doing some washing up maybe outside, because once it's hot here, we spend most of the time outside the house.
Crazy.
That's the thing with a Mediterranean style climate. darlings.
Well, we've got to get that way. We've got to move that way.
Experience
some of that.
So apart from, I don't know, mid-July to mid-August, where we just hide indoors in the dark or in the shade somewhere, the rest of the time. So anyway, we're outside, so we've got like a little area where we can cook and wash up. But we've got this once it's in place, we'll see the video, images or videos of it. Yes. There you go. And how are you this week, Michael?
I've got a couple of stories. One is, do you know, we went out for a walk. It was last weekend, and we went out to East London on the train. We were just walking through. It was a nice sunny day, and I sort of, you get your phone out your pocket and because I've got a mask on, I'm like, put it back in. At one point, I got it out, and I was like, what's my PIN number for my phone? And then, like, I forgot my PIN number for my phone for like an hour. But so I put it in. I kept getting it wrong, and then it was like, you're locked out for 1 minute. I'm like, Sharon, I don't know what my PIN number is, because you don't really have it in your conscious memory. You don't actually know what the number is. You just know that you do it every 10 seconds all day long. And then it was like 5 minutes, half an hour, and I just ended up having to wait an hour to try it again, and just. Like, about, an hour and a half later, I managed to remember my PIN number. I was just locked out completely for like an hour and a half.
Horrible feeling.
So bizarre. And then I did it again on the code pad on the studio. But that one I kind of sorted it out quicker in my brain. But I think I'm getting the dementia.
I don't know if you are. I that's happened to me once before, where I just completely forgot my card PIN number. It's weird. I never bothered to look up if it was a symptom of anything dreadful.
No, I think your brain just can like space out sometimes, and I'm sure there's like just 4 different. I'm sure it's that, and then that, and then. But there's definitely, this feels wrong. Is it this? And then in the end, it was like I just checked my watch, because that has it's 4s, and then my phone is 6, and my watch is just the first 4, and then it was like, okay, I checked it out and I got into my phone again. But it's quite nice not being able to look at my phone for an hour.
What is your PIN number?
Whoa. That would be terrible.
Hey, so funny.
In other news, in other news, I have a new experiment that's going very well, which is I've started having cold showers in the morning.
I've heard about this.
It's like the clarity I've had like in the mornings. It's like you just kind of get in. It's like, yeah, why? And then you're fine. But it's just that first, it's just like getting in a swimming pool or whatever. And then your body is perfectly capable of sort of keeping you warm, even despite the hot cold water. But I wasn't planning on doing it every day, but then I'm like, do I want a nice, productive, easy day of work? Yes. Okay, I'm going to do the cold shower then. But then even yesterday, I granted myself a warm shower yesterday, but then just gave myself a burst of cold at the end, and that seemed to pretty much do it too. And then this morning, I had the coldest one yet. Like, my feet were numb for a while when I came out. But I'm sort of a bit itchy, so I don't know how well you get washed. I don't know if it's because the water's cold, and also because you're sort of like reluctant to be in there too long. So I think maybe the hot with a burst of cold at the end is the way forward, rather than an entirely cold shower. But I'm loving it. My brain is so. I'm not forgetting any PIN numbers with these cold showers, I tell you that much.
When I was about 15 in school in Mostar, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we went in. We had a new teacher for our geography, and we all came in as like 30 odd 15-year-olds, and she said, in my classroom I have rules. I will see no midriffs, I will see no legs, and I expect you all to have a shower with warm water and soap every day before you come into my classroom. There is no point washing with cold water. So if we're to refer back to my geography teacher of 1989 or whatever it was, her knowledge would imply that you do need to have the hot and warm shower first, and then the first. If that helps you in any way.
It was a workout morning this morning, so yeah, I sort of feel like I could be marginally cleaner. So But yeah, I would frankly, I mean, I almost wouldn't recommend it because it gives me such an edge that I don't want anyone to be able to compete with cold shower me. But yeah, it's just meant I've been working on like my onboarding for Dungard, and I've been really finessing it and kind of going, here is the beauty, and realizing the first thing they say is actually the email, so let's get that up and make that perfect, and then that brings you in, asks you, and that says, are you sitting down at your desk, and shows you a picture of a laptop to try and encourage people not to do it on their phone, and then blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I'm feeling good about that. But yeah, so well, I feel like the cold showers may be diminishing returns because I'm feeling a little bit, because I feel like I'm tireder in the evenings. So maybe it's just like front loading my energy and attention. But that's fine. It just means I get to sleep like a baby. And then, but then today I am feeling a little bit like, I think I'm still getting the benefit, but I'm feeling a bit more tired today than I have been. But I think that's fine. It's Friday.
Yeah, this would be a bit tricky for us because what we do is we try really hard to sneak downstairs without waking the child, so we can have like 15 minutes just to talk to each other before because she wakes up awake. So it's like, shh. And it's like, don't, we can't shower upstairs, Greg. So there's this like, shh, don't shut the door kind of a conversation. So I'm not sure how one of us walking in the shower going, it's going to work. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So capital. That was Ivanka's poppies. That I don't know. Is she smoking them? We don't know.
They are a weed.
That would be a good form of capital. A big poppy field full of opium poppies, wouldn't it?
Good is an interesting choice of words.
Valuable? I don't know. Are they interchangeable terms? Let's find out. In episode 163 of Michael and Ivanka's Grand Podcast.
Is that what it is?
Yes. Do you feel?
My goodness.
Do you feel? What sort of capital? Should we talk about our own capital, or should we just talk about? I don't know. Like, I think it's the first thing is identifying it, right? Like, what do we have without realizing it?
I think that's an activity worth pursuing because, in terms of like the financial capital, it's hard to recognize. Like, it's easy to count time, it's easy to count cash, it's easy. There's some things that are really easy to count and acknowledge, and aren't necessarily it's very clear to you what you can get for them.
Yeah.
Like if I've got this many beer tokens, or like I've got this much money, this is what I can buy. But then the other stuff, like reputation, like I would talk on the sort of reputational capital today. Part of the thing I've been dealing with at the moment is somebody who's you sort of your reputational capital earns you the right to behave in certain ways with some certain people, or is it, I don't know, like the friendship capital, or like like with your friends you can occasionally be off because they're your friends and you've kind of got a longer term investment that means that you can be a bit shit sometimes and you get forgiven. You've sort of earned that right. But anyway, yes, I think, but for me personally, acknowledging being aware of my capital, which I don't like calling it that. I really don't like calling it that.
But it's I suppose you think of it as, you don't really think of it as capital in a friendship, but you might think of it if you're going into a business meeting. What is my reputational capital going into this meeting? If you're going into, if you're going to the bank, if you're going to sort of an institution or somewhere that you don't have that like fluid relationship with, I suppose that's where it comes into play more.
But wait, yes, totally. But I think that though, when you say walk into a business meeting, think about what capital you have. I, rightly or wrongly, always assume that if I'm meeting people for the first time, I've got to re-explain. Like I've got to start from zero.
Yeah.
Perhaps they've heard something about me. More often, these days, the reality of being in your mid-40s is that most of the time I'm working with people who've heard of me through some sort of something. But I still don't walk in going, "Hi, it's me. You are very welcome."
Well, this is why I want to be famous, really, is because I don't want to have to keep rebuilding that it's like reputation from scratch with each new encounter. You just want to go in and go, oh, they know who you are, and you go, okay, cool, let's continue. So just even, for example, on Twitch, kind of coming into someone's stream and having made the app they're using for their camera sort of immediately gives me a lot of social capital that I then get to be, I sort of don't have to, because I get so defensive. Because I feel, I don't know, like maybe if you come into a room with a bit more confidence, then it's not such a problem. But if you feel sort of defensive about your value and you're having to justify it from scratch in a new place, that can be that you can sort of undermine yourself quite a lot. So even just like your perception of your own value sort of can affect that first interaction. Whereas if you can, so for me, it's always been like a goal to just not have to do that, but actually maybe that's the wrong goal, because I could just like realize that I have something to offer and just be sort of self-assured in that way, and not like, oh yeah, I'm doing something, it's not very good, I haven't got any users, I haven't made any money out of it, so I'm a failure, really, hi, bye.
But I think that's really what it's about. It's like, when I meet somebody, I don't assume that they have no value, and that they I don't go, right, you come on then, prove it. But for some reason, I assume most of the time, even subconscious, like you say about being defensive.
Yeah.
It's like that. I don't think it's they're waiting for me to explain myself. It's my need to explain myself, and part of it, there's some kind of line between some balance between, like, just mutual respect, that you sort of assume, you extend credit to somebody to say, right, I haven't met you before, but am I going to extend you some reputational and social credit that says that you're a cool person and you know stuff that I want to talk about, and then maybe they extend you the same sort of credit, and then it just makes it a bit more smooth.
Yeah.
But,
I'm thinking about like there's I suppose there's a sort of currency of that sort of reputation. For example, one thing that I'm sort of thinking back to now is sitting down, meeting new people in Berlin, and like I sit down next to this guy, and it seems like we might get on. He sort of asks what I do, and like I say, yeah, I make music. And it's at a point where I've sort of like pretty much given up on the whole music industry, all that kind of thing. I'm like, it's not really like that anymore. Like in the 90s, it was like that. But now, like, it's cool. You just sort of do your thing. You kind of create your nights. You do your thing. And that's what I'd been doing. So I was cool in my, where I was. And then his first question was, oh, what labels have you signed to? And I was like, none ever. I am nothing. Like the currency, the first thing that came to mind for him, the currency of like, how are you valid as a musician? What are you signed to a label? No. Okay. And it's a fair point. Like, okay, well, you can't be that good then. That really hurt, that moment. And I've had it like at other times in sort of doing music where I just don't feel like I've got enough capital, I haven't got enough reputation or anything to be able to really say that I'm doing it seriously, unless it sort of comes from my own sort of like interpretation of what's valuable, rather than like, is this something that will get lots of people to turn up to and make money, blah blah blah. The thing with that, with that guy, actually, we ended up like he was probably the best friend I had in Berlin in the end, and I think he realised pretty quickly, oh right, you're sort of like beyond. He sort of realised I was like past all that, like as we sort of talked some more. But like, yeah, when you first meet someone, like there's sort of established things that you sort of go to establish your reputation. And if you don't have those, you can, if you don't want to play in that by those rules, or sort of maybe you can't. As we've talked about, maybe I'm just not competitive in that way. Yeah, like how do you get that without, you sort of want some third party to be able to kind of lend some, this person's okay. They're not full of shit.
Hard,
they're
though.
not deluded, honest.
No. Yeah, but I mean, I think it's like on the one hand, we sort of, I think I've grown in confidence a lot since we've been doing this podcast because the fact that I've actually rocked up every Friday for nearly 3 years is quite a big,
really.
Well done, especially if you know the levels of flaky that I am, as Michael has said to me.
Hey.
But I've rocked up, and it's taking time out to talk about things and think about things and read things and making sure we're not totally making it up. It's done a lot for me, but fundamentally, I think I am. All that I'm an insecure person, or I am self-critical. Like that we have similarities, but in different ways. But I do think a lot of these responses, like your response to that, what label do you sign to? Oh, I'm not, as being hurtful, is your response.
Yeah, it's my insecurity.
And it's like when people go, "What's your job
right?
title?" And I go, "I don't know." Whatever. What do you want it to go? It's like if your job title's not right, they're not going to take you seriously.
How many people do you have under you?
Yeah, that kind of thing. How many people do you manage or whatever? It's like, what's your budget? What budget? What P&L are you responsible for? It's like,
wow.
but it's hard sometimes to not want to go, but I'm good too. And it's like, you should like me. I'm nice. I know stuff. I don't, but it's and it depends on who. But I think it's a. I'm sorry, I'm not finishing my sentences, but it's like going back to that, extending each other the right to sort of go, be the person who lets everybody be themselves and values that.
Yeah,
maybe it would also come back the other way.
Yeah, but I think what we see is I think it sort of depends on who you meet, like what their values happen to be, and what whether or not you're going to have any. I mean, I don't want to keep saying capital, but whether or not you have anything that they consider worthwhile,
valuable.
That sort of depends on it.
But
does bring. If
they don't. Why do you care?
Exactly, and that's what I say about job interview. Oh, what if you go for a job interview and it's terrible? Well, they clearly don't share your values, and you don't want to spend 40 hours a week with them, do you? So it's win-win, really.
Yeah. It's totally. Go back. I've vaguely or alluded to that story of the terrible job interview I've had, the worst one ever, frankly. But I really, really would not have been happy working with them, and that interview just proved me right from before. But and it's I don't really ultimately particularly care what they thought of me in the end. But it was that is true. But work is a for me at least, even though it's a really important thing, and earning money and having a living, and I enjoy what I do. But when it comes to making friends with people, it is a bit more difficult for me, because I want people, I want to have friends, but I do find it, it's kind of, as you get older, it's a bit trickier to sniff out the people with the values that you share, I think.
And you sort of you're also I think when you're younger and you're making friends, you're more about fitting in with what other people want, and then as you get older you kind of know what your values are a lot more clearly. So then if someone's really if someone's got a Winston Churchill quote about how poor people are poor and it's their fault, even if you've got other things in common, it's
it is.
Sorry, mate.
You've reminded me of this TikTok I saw yesterday. A TikTok on Twitter, if you would fathom it, which was a young black lady talking about the fact that she's like, can we stop talking about the fact that it's nice to be tolerant of other people's values? It's politics is, she's basically said, for some people politics is just an amusing thing that you can have an argument about with a friend. But
people.
but if you're racist, sexist, any bad-ist, then just no.
No.
It's like if you vote Tory and you share values with, and she lists out, it's like, I'm sorry, I don't understand why I have to be tolerant of your values are exactly the thing that is harming me. And I do think that's I think that sort of capital disconnected from values is what I struggle with.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a little. Epic. Epic song there. What sort of capital have you realised that you have that you didn't realise that you had? If that makes sense.
I have got a lot of experience of making digital things in lots of different scenarios for lots of different people, with varying degrees of success and failure. Some mightily successful and some not so much. Some just like very disappointing. And with that comes a broad range of knowledge and patterns and things that I can call upon when having a conversation about something. And I go, oh yes.
And do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible to express that? Not like something you do. You have like your PhD, don't you? And you have your little badges and certificates and like things after your name, so you can go in and say, "Hello, I'm Ivanka Majic, MSc." But that's like an insecure move in itself, isn't it?
Well, it's a bit of a funny one.
But you want to be like an actor, like you want to be like award-winning economist, award-winning web, whatever thing, don't you? Like to just sort of save some time in establishing that. I think that the saving time is the tricky one. That you don't, where you're like. It's like talking to if I talk to my dad used to bring this example up of me. I may have brought it up before, but I was like sub 3 running along ahead of him, and he was like, "Watch out, Ivanka, it's slippery. You might fall over." And I was like, I continued to do what I was doing, and then I fell over, and then I was like, "But Daddy, how did you know I was going to fall over?" And it was like, this was a thing that got thrown back at me regularly for the next 17 years. It's like, well, I can explain, but it's like, look, I can fast forward us to the end of this movie because I know how it ends. And so that we can have that, we can have a different conversation. That's what the reputational thing earns you. But sometimes that, it saves effort and energy and time and frustration and lots of negative things. Yeah. If you can help somebody learn from a pattern you already recognise, I think. Yeah. Okay.
So
there you go. And that's hugely valuable, and that's a huge, thing that you bring to the table. So, yeah.
But not everyone learns in the set, and that's where it's tricky, because some people really need to do it themselves before they can learn, or they need to be, or they don't want, So that's the downside of that.
Well, that's part of the skill as well, like that you know how people want to see it, and maybe you can kind of like at least funnel them in a direction that's going to get them there quickest.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I suppose, a different kind of experience to go, okay, you're the kind of person who learns like this, you're the kind of person who wants to be communicated with like this. I mean, and that's, I think, another part of the experience thing is the practice of having dealt with lots of different people with lots of different personalities and lots of different needs.
Yeah.
Not that I'm like, again, not... On the one hand, I feel often like going, not that I know lots of, but actually I have worked with lots of different people with lots of different needs. And it's actually, I think it's okay to say that sometimes. Go, I've worked with someone like this before.
Yeah, this is true. Like when I don't want to name names, but when I went from one difficult person to a 10 million times more difficult person, and when it went back to the very difficult person, they were easy to deal with. It just happens. It's good. My something I've realised, something I was sort of appreciating this week was that even though I'm earning like no money right now, very little compared to how much I have earned in the past when I've worked for companies or done my contracting, is that I'm quite grateful that I didn't just spend everything on... I mean, I spent a lot on rent, don't get me wrong, but I have accumulated possessions that can actually be sold. Like I've accumulated... Right. Like I've sort of been building up my studio for years, but it's nice to know that like I do, like, if I did get in trouble, I can quite quickly sell this and that and the other and sort of pay a bill. And I did manage to do that just last week. Was like, okay, this, if I sell this and this and this, and I just managed to... I think I'm actually getting better at it as well, because I put it up for the price I wanted, and then I did a sale for 4 days and put it 17% off, so it put the number below the sort of next £100 thing on the thing, and it sold them quite quickly, and I think I'm getting better at that. But yeah, just the fact that I think I've always invested in myself one way or another, either by... I always will take the time to learn the new skill, the new technology, the new thing that people are talking about. I'll always try and like get my head around it. I won't just keep sticking to the things I already know. And then I'll sort of... the things I buy tend to be things that I feel like will help me further my goals, like sort of tools and things, whether you want to call musical instruments tools all the time. But I've got, here's a computer, I've got that. It cost a bit of money, but I can sort of use that. Like, these are the means of production of things. So I spend a lot of money on the means of production. So I've sort of got my nice camera, I've got like some computers, I've got various phones, I've got musical instruments and things. But it's nice to know that like I'm using those to generate value, like maybe microscopic amounts of value at this point. But I mean, obviously, like a laptop, it's paid for itself many times over when I was working for companies. But it's nice to know that I also have fixed assets that I can sell as well if I need to. So it's obviously all like something.
Yeah, I think that's we were bizarrely talking with the 6-year-old the other day about this because they were reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory again. And Charlie Bucket's dad goes to work every day and screws the lids on toothpastes. That's his job. And so we then had a conversation with her about what sort of work she'd like to do and what has, like the and how, if you like like that's why going to school and learning lots of different skills and being able to do different things is and so the investing in yourself, I think, is absolutely the actual tools, the skills, the programming languages, the methodologies, all of those things, but also being self-critical. I'm a bit rubbish at X. I think that's one of the things we've done a lot of on this podcast,
right? Yeah.
By exploring a few different things, going, actually, this is how I think about that. This is what I feel. Oh, I don't know enough about that. I feel a bit like I'm, it's a way of going, hang on, where's my gaps? Where's my things I could be better at? And you only can do that, so investing in yourself, if you're taking the time to looking at, where your portfolio...
That's portfolio is where I was going to move it next, because the sort of podcast is almost like our portfolio of thinking. Look, we've been doing loads of thinkings, and we've developed this portfolio of thinkings. And like my music, michaelforrestmusic.com is like this sort of like portfolio of a million little things I've made. Like, that's not nothing if you can come out with, and that I guess part of that comes down to like if you don't finish something, if you don't create something you can share, and put on a website or upload to Apple Podcasts or whatever. Like it is less demonstrable that you have done something. But certainly, like this podcast has been has certainly. Even if we've got the portfolio, but we've also got the sort of clarity and the confidence that's come out of talking to each other and listen. Even just me, like hearing my own voice and getting used to it, and like hearing, like sometimes I quite like that tone in my voice. I can use that musically. Like I've discovered things from just like editing my voice and like thought patterns as well, like speech patterns. Just kind of like so much of that.
I haven't been so, I haven't listened to myself in that way, but just realizing that I agree with myself. It's such a weird. It's like, actually, Ivanka, I think you're right. Yeah. It's like whereas often I'll sort of, you read things where women often get criticised when they write emails. Think, I'm just going to go. I might have, if I may suggest. It's like, no, actually, look, we need to do this. Just say it. Stop being so apologetic and waiting for permission. So I hope everybody that haven't become like this, like a
bang,
this is what we should
masculine
do.
Power.
But I think that's quite nice.
But there's that overlap between what's there's like privilege gets you some built-in capital in interactions. Like I am white and sound a little bit posh. Yeah, that's big. That's good. That's some good capital walking into a job interview. Is like, hello, but one way. But then I have been thinking about like the social capital that I've built up with people. Like I try and be a good person. Like when I do talk to someone, I try and be a good person with them, and I only cut them out when they one time are rude to me, maybe twice.
When they dare,
if they're just like, what the hell? I'm just like, right, you're out, you're dead to me. Fine. But like the people I do talk to, I try to, be understanding and empathic with, and like be, kind and nice to them, and like think about them. But I think that's done me well. Just in terms of, like, I've got this huge studio space that I would not have if I hadn't sort of been pursuing my values all this time and created some social capital with the guy that happened to find the place. That like when I sort of like Instagrammed him, he was like, do you know anyone that needs a studio? I'm like, yes, I need a studio. Let's have a look. And like so and then like so using that sort of social capital to actually save like 500 quid a month. It's you can convert the two, and then actually getting calls from the last studio because I was so consistent paying, and then they'd sort of tried to get a bit greedy and like with the rent, and then they'd got someone else in who'd immediately flaked after like 1 month and like, please come back. I'm like, no. But and then this is the same thing in Berlin. Like the guy just having built up my capital of being able to do stuff, I think helped as well. Like, you can make an app, fine, I'll rent you this sublet. It's all sort of but it does connect back with values as well, because you can't really generate that social capital without either being a really good liar and sort of being whatever the person wants you to be, or I think it's better to have your values and engage the way that you think is right, and then you find the right people, and then you end up I could have been I would have had to maintain a lie if I'd if I'd moved in with someone that I'd lied to get there.
Totally. And I think that's the joy of understanding your capital, your value, where it comes from, is that sort of do you know what? I can't. I've got no capital in the fakery area, so I'm not going to try and build anything.
Well, it's you sort of like generate it like by lying, but it doesn't. It's not real, and it will kind of run out. Let me do a break, and then let's. So what do we think we can't do what do we think we can't afford to do, but actually we've got more than enough of whatever kind of capital that we could do it now if we wanted. One thing that always comes to mind with this for me is like charity donations. It's like, I'm glad we did, because I'm still spending when we did do that Done Good thing a while back, I kind of upped my Amnesty International contributions, and it's like once it's there, you just kind of like work around it, don't you? So I'm sort of giving it Amnesty a decent amount per year now. But there's, I could have just never set that up because I thought, I can't afford to donate that much money right now.
Yeah. But yeah,
fine.
I think for me it is that,
It's a hard
I would
question,
really
right?
like to find a way to earn a living. It doesn't have to be a big, like pay my bills type living, but or put all my energy into some net positive project, like
Your own thing, or like
it could. I think ideally my own thing, just because, or my own take on something. But it's things like I've played through my head that whole because the whole tree planting thing. Take that as a concrete example. There are loads of places that you can buy a gift of a tree planting. We don't need another project to plant trees. What we need is a project to persuade people that buying a tree for somebody that they're never going to be able to see or touch is as valuable as buying them a book. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like, maybe a book's a bad example, but it's like books always have value beyond the paper they're printed on. But do you know what I mean? It's like a kind of putting the skills that I have learned, over this my knowledge capital, to something that I think needs doing, that I value, that I think that when I see the results of it, I'll feel really proud and pleased. And I do get a lot of that. I do get quite a lot of that from Restaurants Brighton, because it supports local businesses in the community that I'm still part of. But and there's small businesses that need the extra oomph, and it pays wages locally and all those kind of things. So I do get that, absolutely. Yeah. But
it wouldn't have been like what you'd imagined, right?
No,
you go, okay, this is because I often find with a job thing, I find a way to connect it with my values, and that allows me to do it. You sort of want some stuff that is a bit more closely aligned with the things that you would prioritize, and but all that same digital user experience, marketing, campaigning know-how, but applied to something that, like changing or multiplying my values. Because the thing that concerns me most, and this is a Earth Day hook, is the state of the environment. And, it's one of those things that we need everybody to value much more in order to make a difference. It can't just be, we don't share values. I'm sorry, we share a planet. So, we need to find a way of sharing these values. And I think that's that whole, like when we've got people, that's I think what I would like to, but I can't afford, or can I, to stop what I'm doing and take that moment and go, right, this is where I want to put my effort. It's funny because, like, as soon as you do, because obviously that's exactly what I did 2 years ago, was went, right, it's time to, and that, I obviously don't have the same kinds of responsibilities, but I did have to kind of think, okay, if I am responsible, like, how is that just going to make me have to immediately snap back to working for some like bank or something in order to do it? Yeah. And then I kind of came to that realization that, well, I had the vision of, well, no, because I'd get loads of app ideas if I had a kid. I'd make and you can make loads of money off those. So I think even like that would probably be okay. So I sort of saw a path through because, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to jump off the hamster wheel and have a go. And probably, if anything, my I guess I probably overestimated my capital to start with, right? So I've saved up this money, and I was working on my blank state. We were doing the podcast. I had my YouTube channel. I had one app. I had my old apps. I had like 7, 8, 9, 10 things that I thought I could do them all, and so like there's something to be said for being realistic with what you can hope to achieve. And although I think like the fact that I have been given this like already 2-year runway to figure it all out means that all the work, I feel like even if it just takes longer to get to certainly anywhere close to the level that I got used to before, but because all that time has been generating capital for me, like this is all things that I now can profit from. I'm not just giving it to someone else. That's I feel like I've been accumulating a lot of capital, although the proof is in there. Does this actually end up paying off? I kind of have to have a certain amount of faith to know that it is going to happen. And I think like I'm learning every day. Like I'm figuring new things out. I'm getting better and better at the things that I didn't like doing that need to be done as part of this. And I think it will eventually lead to something. But I think the change is the hard thing sometimes, and the going. I can't see all the ways that I can't see the path, but I kind of have enough confidence in myself to be able to know that I'll probably figure it out one way or another before I starve.
Yeah.
But the other side of it was like I think I just couldn't deal with the alternative anymore. And that's often how it goes for me. Like what pushes me, I can't just the pull isn't enough. Like there has to be a push as well to sort of push me over the edge and go, actually this job, there's no one that I hate here, and yet still I'm getting depressed about doing it.
I have my biggest, truly the thing that is holding me to account the most at the moment, because I am working. I am in my office every day from at least 9 till 6 or 7 or 8 till 7. And my daughter, who is 6, is at the moment very clear and has been consistent on this for a few months now, that when she grows up and has children, she wants a husband that goes to work and does the money work, no. And she wants to play with her children. Right. And it's like she's not going, she does. She goes, I don't want you to go to work. Why are you working? What are you doing? And it's not because daddy's no good or daddy can't play or doesn't. It's just that constant like demand on my it's like, you're not here. And that is a bit, but then it doesn't. So yes, it's just a constant, like there's something in the way I'm doing things at the moment isn't making me isn't quite right. But I'm definitely taking this year, July and August off completely. Right. Because she starts school in September. Before we know it, she'll be like, "Oh, mummy, I don't want to hang out with you." So I want to enjoy it while she actually wants to spend time with me. But
I think So just to not to steamroll over, but like I was just thinking about like it's the capital that we're not aware of that we have that is the harder one, because I feel like I could be getting a lot more from the capital that I have if I just believed that I could go to someone that I respect and say, can you help me, or can you criticize me, or like whatever it is. Yeah. Like probably I could, if I believed I had a bit of reputational capital or whatever the other kinds are, privilege or whatever, I could go and talk to someone and get some help or get some advice or get some, I don't know, spend money in different ways that I could sort of accelerate, instead of just sort of like, I think I've just I spend a lot of time in this comfort zone of, oh, here is a technical problem, I will figure out how to solve it. Or whereas I think if I realize that there is more beyond that I have that I can use beyond that, like I know how to program in Swift, like that I could probably like move things faster. And I suppose it's just like that comes back to the time thing as well, doesn't it? Like could I be using this better? Because I know I'm comfortable doing it this way, but and it's might be the slow way. Don't know.
Slow, yeah. I don't know. There's much to yeah. I don't know. I think the slow way is not necessarily the bad way either.
If you have the luxury of being able to do it the slow way, I think I've always liked a sort of richer, more detailed kind of thing than a sort of like superficial thing that immediately goes viral and then dies the next day. Like I do value like a bit of depth, and like so everything I'm sort of making is possibly a prohibitively intense amount of depth and commitment to it. But I feel like then if you can break it, it's like with music, I was like, I don't really want to write a really catchy pop song that works by repetition, because I am going to want to Kurt Cobain myself within 2 years of performing it, kind of thing. So I've always sort of avoided trying to do something too like immediate, but actually maybe I could, stand to learn a little bit of that and not be quite so scared of it. This is less of a conversation about capital, and it's just me talking about me, which is my favourite subject.
Gardening, that's the way forward, you see. There's no quick wins in gardening. What
do you think? What are we taking away from this anyway? Because we're at 52 minutes.
I see so many there's tweets about like, no podcast should last more than 45 minutes. Sorry. What are we taking away from this?
We're taking away from this, we don't really know. So,
we don't know.
Sorry.
But we need to think about it. I need to think, but I want to think a little bit about what's next.
What is stopping you?
I don't know. Fear.
Fear
and uncertainty and doubt.
It's the uncertainty, isn't it? And that just comes back to the confidence in yourself to know that you'll figure it out, right? And that you have a support network, and that people won't just go, what? Right?
Yeah. That's, I think,
So we just need to send Ivanka. First you need to figure out what it is as well.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Agreed.
Let's send it and press F1.
I have to wait for them to grow.
Thanks for listening. Trees for the garden. Thanks for listening. If you like the podcast, go to grandpodcast.com. If you want to support the podcast, why don't you sign up to our Patreon? You get the video episode, you get a full video episode multiple days early. And you get access to our Slack, private Slack. And guess what? I'm sending you a mug. I'm going to put it up on the Patreon. You can have a Grand Podcast mug. If you're on the video, look, I'll send you one of these if you sign up to our Patreon. It's a beautiful mug. I love my Grand Podcast
what a lovely mug.
Shaz Shroom has been listening. Thank you, Grand Podcast team, she calls us.
Thank you. Thank you, Shaz Shroom.
As this was broadcast live on twitch.tv/Michael Forrest. So where can people find you, Ivanka?
People can find me at Ivanka on Twitter.
You can find me at Michael Forrest on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, kind of, all over the place. And, that's it. I hope you're having a good week.
Yes.
And try cold showers. It's amazing.
Or don't. It's up to you.
You can leave a tiny bit of warm in it. But like this morning, record. I don't think there was actually any warm coming in, and it was intense. But hey, look how rosy I am. I might just
you
be
look
dirt.
Fabulous.
All right. Well, thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time. Goodbye. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.